Hello everyone, and now overall I am not a big fan of horror. I am honestly pretty easy to scare. I don't like being scared in general. However, I do like some horror games and movies, but overall I don't like it. However, with that being said, Outlast is one of my favorite games of all time. I love this game so much, and today I simply just wanted to talk about why I love Outlast and why in my opinion it is the best horror game of all time. Now, for this video, I have done 4 playthroughs of Outlast, and I've watched a few Let's Plays of people playing Outlast to get as much information as possible to make sure I have everything right for this video. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So, the entire game of Outlast takes place in Mount Massive Asylum. Now, I think this is a perfect setting for a horror game. Ever since the beginning of the game, you get a feeling of fear from the minute you get out the car. I've heard many people complain about how Mount Massive makes the game linear because there's only one way to really go, but to me this actually works well this actually works in the game's advantage. Unlike a game like Outlast 2, which in my opinion, with the fact that the world is more open, that game it causes more frustration because you don't know where you're supposed to go, and it causes you to die more often than anything. Now, Mount Massive on the other hand, the tight corners makes it a lot easier to know where you are exactly supposed to go, and it also adds to the horror, which it adds to the horror in my opinion, because if someone comes at you and there's only a certain amount of space that you have to work with to either hide or get away from, it really adds to the tension because you have the tight corners makes it really hard. Like if someone's coming after you, you have to work with those tight corners. I'll try and not compare this to Outlast 2 that much, but to me, even though the world is more open, there's just more things that traps you and even causes you to die because you could go completely wrong way without knowing, and you can't do anything other than die. Meanwhile, in Outlast 1, even with small spaces of Mount Massive, again, you can still get around, you can get to the place where you either need to go or where you can hide and get away from the enemies. Now, the characters of Outlast have to be some of my favorite in gaming. I won't say they are the best, because I don't think they are the best, but they are definitely some of my favorites. They very much seem like actual people who have been tortured and beaten to the point that they have gone insane and attacked anyone on sight, and sometimes you will hear them talk and even be scared about just what's going on in Mount Massive. Now, the person you play as is Miles Upshur, and he is an investigative journalist who is willing to take any job, even a job that other journalists wouldn't do, and he was fired from his last job because of his views on the Afghanistan war. Now, after a whistleblower emails Miles about the atrocities at Mount Massive, Miles heads to the asylum and starts to uncover what is happening over there and expose what the Murkoff Corporation, who is the company that owns the place, is doing to these people. Now, Miles doesn't talk at all throughout the game, and you really get to know him. You get to know him and his personality through his notes that he writes throughout the game. And to me, this works to the game's favor because you can really immerse yourself, and you really feel like you are Miles Upshur. However, what makes this game great, in my opinion, are the enemies in this game. So we have Chris Walker, an ex-Marine who is seen multiple times throughout the asylum tearing people's heads off, and it really feels like he is hunting you throughout the entire game. We also have the twins, who in my opinion are very underused in this game and could have had more character added to them, because at most they are just 2 enemies that just show up and are actually very easy to get around and avoid. And in my opinion, this is one of the biggest issues with Outlast, is the twins are just not really that great. The twins are not that great of enemies. We also have Dr. Wernicke, who is the man in charge and who originally created a multi-genetic engine, and a Walrider, who is basically a supernatural demon, basically who some people in the asylum, they see as a god that you need to worship, and it plays a big part into why the asylum collapsed in the first place. Now, my favorite character in this game is Dr. Traeger. You meet him halfway through the game, and he is calm. He has this lighthearted tone that just makes you feel uncomfortable the entire time because you don't know exactly you don't know how he is. Like he's all calm. Like he seems a little sane. Like compared to everyone else, he talks normally. But you see what he has done to people in the asylum.
You're the right choice here, buddy. You're that bullshit priests guy, aren't you? His witness or whatever. You must be exhausted. No, let's take a break, huh, buddy? The old 2-martini lunch? Have a little confab, blah, blah. Heavier than you look. A little cardio wouldn't kill you. Okay, here we go, arms and legs inside the car at all times. You know, I love the mountain air up here at night. You want to head out and take a stroll? Go ahead, I'll wait here. Go on, run free. I'm in no hurry. No? All right. Nose to the grindstone, I like that. Okay then, right this way.
To me, both Traeger and Chris Walker are two of the best enemies in this game, and they always scare the crap out of me. Now, the story of Outlast starts with Dr. Wernicke creating a multijet engine when he was working under the Nazis in the 1940s, I believe, and would later create the Walrider when he started working for the Murkoff Corporation, a company that doesn't care about anything other than making money. The player starts as Miles Upshur while he is driving up to Mount Massive Asylum in the middle of the night. You see the sign and then the radio goes out letting you know that there will be no getting help from the outside or calling the police during this entire game. Once you get control of Miles, you explore Mount Massive Asylum and you see the horrors within. You run into Father Martin after you are thrown out the window by Chris Walker, and as you are trying to open the front door, he will knock you out with a needle. Throughout the rest of the game, you'll be trying to find Father Martin and get out, with Father Martin telling you to spread his gospel of the Walrider. After you finally find Billy and the Walrider, you go and turn off his life support and kill Billy. However, the Walrider chooses you as the host and enters your body, and as you're leaving, you are killed by Murkoff soldiers, only for the Walrider to later kill all of them. Overall, I don't think the story is bad, but I don't think it's good either. It's very mediocre, like the story overall, but like it has some issues, but overall, I like it. It's okay. But really where this game shines is the gameplay. So the gameplay of Outlast is honestly pretty simple, honestly. Instead of having a gun or a flashlight, you have a camera. You cannot fight back in any way, and your only choice is to run and hide. This style of gameplay actually works really well with Outlast, because you are not a fighter, you are a journalist. And also the people in the asylum, they are way too strong for you to do anything to. If you did fight them, you would lose. I know some people might say, well, why does it matter that you're a journalist? You could still fight back. Even though in a game like Alan Wake, for example, people always point out how ridiculous it is, how even though Alan Wake, he's a writer, he can somehow pick up a gun and kill multiple enemies throughout the entire game without any issues. There are many moments in Outlast when you are chased and you have to run away in these sections. The tight corners of Mount Massive really help you run and get away, and the gameplay keeps flowing without you stopping because you don't know where to go. You can even look behind you while running. The enemy's AI is also really good in my opinion. They will chase you for a while until they lose sight of you. They can easily walk right past you sometimes when you're hiding in the dark. They can't see you as well. However, when you're in the light, they will easily spot you. And they will even find you because the shadows on your wall, on the wall, because of like light. The entire game is about slowly making your way through the asylum and absorbing the atmosphere, which is brilliant in my opinion. When there is a chasing, you have to run away until you can either get away safely, or until you can find a locker or a bed to hide under or inside. Another big part of this game is that your camera needs batteries, and you will have to find them throughout the asylum in order to use night vision, which you will most likely be using for most of the game because the game is very dark. You will find documents around the asylum where you can learn about some of the patients and even learn some of the work that Murkoff did, and Miles will write some notes where we can see his personality and what he thinks about what's going on. I personally love the gameplay of Outlast, and it works extremely well and is easily the best part about Outlast. Now, I do want to talk about the ending a little bit. I did mention it in the story section, but overall I think I am disappointed. with the ending of Outlast. I don't hate it like everyone else, but I am disappointed with it. I would have loved if Miles actually got out and was able to show his footage in court in order to take Murkoff down, especially after everything Miles went through throughout this entire game. But I also know that a trope of horror games and movies is that they very rarely have happy endings. Also, I know many people wanted a plot twist, whereas Miles was actually a patient all along because of an inmate saying, "How do you know you're not patient?" But I'm happy that the game didn't do this. Not every game needs a plot twist. And it also wouldn't make sense since Outlast 1, Outlast is all about you being a journalist trying to expose a story and get away with your life. Even Outlast 2 understood this. Even Outlast 2 understood this to a sense. Also the game literally starts with you driving up to the asylum, so it wouldn't make sense. Also, the inmates are insane. I know some people don't want to admit this because they rather there have been a twist in the game, but the inmate was crazy and insane. Literally every character in this game other than Miles is insane. And even then, Miles, he starts going a little bit crazy too. Now, Outlast has a lot of blood and gore in this game, however, and many people would say that they go overboard. But to me, honestly, this works to this game's favor. Instead of it feeling overused or even just being there for the sake of being scary, the amount of blood and gore you will see throughout this game really brings in the idea that you are not safe here and that you will get killed, and this will probably be what will happen to you if you die. At the beginning of the game, we come across a soldier in full combat armor who has been impaled to a pipe by Chris Walker with heads all around him, and this scene perfectly tells you that you will not be getting out here alive so easily. And when you meet Dr. Traeger, you even get 2 of your fingers cut off. It really helps set the atmosphere and really brings up the tension that you are not safe and that you will probably die unless you get out of here. And now, the inmates of Mount Massive Asylum are all terrifying and extremely deformed. You can really just see how tortured they are and what Murkoff has done to them. You do feel a little bad for them, but you also hate them when they are running after you trying to kill you, so it's kind of... you're like, I feel bad for you, but I also hate you for trying to kill me. Now, the Walrider is a confusing thing. He could be a demon, but he also could just be something that was created by the Morphogenetic engine through the suffering and torture put upon the inmates. We don't really know. However, I think the Walrider is honestly a really great villain in this game. I would not say he would ever be in a top 10 best villains, but he's a really good villain for Outlast. He is mysterious. You can't even see him without night vision. The Walrider is being controlled by a man named Billy, and he is the first person to successfully become a host of the Walrider, and he is what starts the collapse of the asylum. I do like that they keep what exactly the Walrider is unknown, and by the end of the game, we still don't know exactly what he is, or what the Walrider is. I do actually really like that, because it leaves you with some questions that, sadly, Outlast 2 doesn't really do anything with, but if I ever talk about Outlast 2, I will talk about that. Now, overall, the Whistleblower DLC, I think is good. I wouldn't say it's better than the main game, like many people have said, but in my opinion, that's just the case with most DLCs. Most DLCs, they never surpass the main game. Now, Whistleblower is all about the events that take place before the start of Outlast 1, and then it ties into the events that happened during the original game. Overall, this DLC is good, like I said. The areas you see are cool and some of the new villains are great, especially Eddie Gluskin. However, I wouldn't say he is better than Chris Walker or even Traeger. Also, even though the characters don't say anything in this game, in my opinion, Miles Upshur is way better than Waylon Park just from the notes that you get throughout the game, because I don't know, I just like Miles' personality through his notes compared to Waylon's. Waylon's still not a bad character, I just prefer Miles. Now, Outlast, again, like I said at the beginning of this video, is one of my favorite games ever, and my favorite horror game of all time. And I'm not the biggest fan of horror. I am scared pretty easily, like very easily. I don't like being scared in the first place, but I've had a blast playing Outlast. Even making this video, I've had a blast playing through this game multiple times. So I really think everyone should play Outlast. I think it's a fantastic game, and I'm really glad I was able to just talk about it and talk about why I love this game so much.